I decided to do a little bit of research on a topic to put things in some perspective. We have some very bizarre Republicans, to be perfectly honest with you. Very weird, who are more desirous of winning the Republican nomination than actually winning the presidency. And if they should win the presidency, really do not have a platform that will undo anything that Obama has done, and whose records suggest that they won't. Now, I know this upsets a lot of people when I say it, but I do think we are intelligent people, and we need to sort through these things, and the time to do it is now, during a primary process, really a pre-primary process. Many of you do not remember what occurred in 1979 and 1980 when Reagan was running against Carter. You do not remember what occurred in the Republican primary when Reagan was attacked. And he was attacked as a conservative. He was attacked in the same exact way conservatives are attacked today. Listen to what they're saying about Palin and Bachmann and Kaine and Santorum and others. The same individuals, in some cases, the same Republican forces, the same media, because they do not want to reverse course. All this talk about how bad Obama is from some of these Republicans, the fact is they'd be perfectly comfortable with the election of a Republican. Now, maybe at different points in our history that was perfectly fine. It's not fine now. Can you imagine all the effort, all the resources, all the hopes and dreams in defeating Obama, and we elect somebody who completely disappoints, who embraces a Nixonian, Ford, Rockefeller, Scranton, and on, domestic policy? No, we can't have that. We just cannot have that. Now, Reagan was attacked in 1980 in the general election by the Libertarian Party. In fact, the candidate at the time, Ed Clark, this is from the Harvard Crimson, he said Ronald Reagan is the worst presidential candidate because he wants to bring more government into people's lives. You see, not all libertarians, but the radical libertarians, many of whom back Ron Paul, like a kook by the name of Lou Rockwell, and those kind of weirdos and whack jobs. They hate Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wanted a strong defense, not to intervene all over the world, but to secure this nation. He wanted to defeat the Soviets. You will not hear Ron Paul praising Ronald Reagan's foreign policy. Period. There's a reason for that. If you're in the military, you need to pay attention to what Ron Paul says. So when we talk about Obama hollowing out the military, as I did the other day, spreading it thin, violating the Constitution, yet cutting its budget, Ron Paul intends to cut the budget more than Barack Obama. He's George McGovern when it comes to foreign policy. But that's okay. That is the nature, in many respects, of the radical wing of the Libertarian Party. It's just that Ron Paul wants to take over the Republican Party. It's not going to happen. In fact, Ed Clark, back in 1980, said Reagan wants to expand government's role in every phase of life. So Reagan was taking attacks from the Libertarian Party, just as we conservatives do today. Now they call us neocons. Actually, we're Burkeans. True blue conservatives. We represent what the founders represented. You are anarchists. Now that said, Reagan also took it from the Democrats. Jimmy Carter in August 1980, when he was being renominated. He said he warned cheering Democrats Ronald Reagan could take America toward an alarming, even perilous destiny. He said that he favored massive tax cuts and rebates for the rich. He said Reagan was so conservative and so inexperienced, I'm quoting from a news article, in foreign policy he could lead America down the wrong road in an all-out nuclear arms race toward war. He said, you and I must never let this come to pass. And he attacked Reagan relentlessly for his inexperience on foreign policy. He said the consequences of those commitments and policies would drive us down the wrong road. It's up to all of us to make sure America rejects this alarming, even perilous destiny. Excuse me. So we hear this today about conservative candidates or conservatives who seek to be the Republican candidate for president. Do we not? And we're always told these are second-tier candidates. I hear Karl Rove on the Fox News channel all the time. These are second-tier candidates. These conservatives are always second-tier candidates. Now, I've told you before that George Will, whom I admire, in 1979, Ronald Reagan was his third choice in the Republican primary. His first choice was Howard Baker. His second choice was George H.W. Bush. And then a few weeks before the general election, he said he was wrong and he supported Ronald Reagan. I told you Charles Krauthammer was a Democrat, a speechwriter from Mondale. He was never on the Reagan bandwagon. So they missed the Reagan Revolution. Karl Rove, a Republican operative in Texas, was a Bush guy. He never fought and led the way for Ronald Reagan. In fact, he knocked out a lot of the Reaganites when his friend and mentor George W. Bush became governor. He went through and he cleaned out the Texas Republican Party of all these Reagan guys and solid conservatives, many of them. Now he's on TV telling us, remember when he said Bachman's second tier and all these conservatives second tier, and he's talking up Mitch Daniels, because Mitch Daniels is who George W. Bush wanted. And by the way, John Huntsman is who George W. Bush wants and these other guys want. But John Huntsman, I don't think he's going to win. So John Huntsman today, he goes in front of the Statue of Liberty to try and convince you through images, through projection, that he's Reagan-esque. There's nothing Reagan-esque about him. He's part of the establishment. The establishment likes him. The establishment's comfortable with him. And I'm not just talking about the Republican establishment. The Democrat establishment's comfortable with him. They're rooting for him. Harry Reid said today, look, if I have to choose between Romney and Huntsman, I like Huntsman. So when faced with Obamacare, the hard fight in uprooting it, not just talking about it, uprooting it, when faced with really battling the Environmental Protection Agency on cap and trade and so forth, which he used to support, now he says he opposes, I don't trust him. And I don't trust these people with a recent past for big government, a proclivity for big government. And then they lecture us about civility. The President of the United States is out there attacking Paul Ryan a few months ago, and all the Republicans that voted for his budget saying that they favored cutting funding for Down syndrome children and autistic children. They're out there running around talking about how Republicans want to kill women. They accuse the Tea Party of racism. And this guy wants unilateral disarmament when it comes to politics. Now, we don't have to talk like that to these liberal nut jobs, but we do need to be tough. We do need to be resolute. And we can't be wearing mittens while they're wearing metal knuckles. And that's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. I don't even understand this mindset. We're fighting for the future of the nation. We're fighting to save the nation. We're fighting for our children and our grandchildren. We're fighting for our own private property rights. We're fighting to reestablish the Constitution, and they keep telling us to tone it down. To tone it down, we want to be heard. We need to be heard. We need to get our message out everywhere. And these corporatist Republicans, and that's what they are, these corporatist Republicans, not constitutional conservatives, corporatist Republicans is a different thing. They're trying to lecture us. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something, and I've told you this many times. We own this country. I know they want to act like we don't. We own this government, even though many times it acts like it owns us. The Constitution belongs to you and me. Tone it down. They're stealing our liberty. They're stealing our private property rights. The left is telling us Obama's not going far enough or fast enough. And we get this guy who was ambassador to Red China under Obama. That shows you what kind of judgment he has. Telling you and me, we need to be civil. We are civil. You don't see Tea Party activists or conservatives or patriotic citizens of whatever the stripe marching in the streets and breaking windows and burning down buildings like the left. You don't see us marching down the streets demanding money and programs from somebody else. The left has been violent from day one, from the 1960s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, and now. We are not violent. So why doesn't Mr. Huntsman lecture his former boss, or why did he wait today to say anything at all? We can't win an election with these guys, people like this. They're not leaders. I don't care if he's been a governor or not. We can't win an election with a guy like this. And let's say we do, by some bizarre turn of events. What have we won? Yes, we've defeated Obama. But we got to do more than that. By defeating Obama and putting in a mush, a muddle, a vanilla, that's not good enough. When we win elections, we got to make progress too. Progress in the sense that we've got to reverse course. Expand liberty, liberate the economy, break down some of the bureaucracy. That's our chance to do what needs to be done. We've got to make sure the right people are appointed to the courts, the all-powerful federal courts. We've got a hell of a lot of work to do should we defeat Barack Obama. But in the first battle is the Republican battle. It's within the Republican Party. It's not Obama. The first battle is, who do we choose to take him on? Who do we choose to take him on? I'm one of the few, if not the only, I don't remember, individuals who worked in the 76 and 80 Reagan campaigns. I tell you, it turns my stomach when I hear these Republicans, these establishment Republicans constantly lecturing us about Ronald Reagan this and Ronald Reagan that. You must understand, Ronald Reagan was an outsider. Ronald Reagan fought the establishment. He fought the Republican National Committee. He fought the old-timers, the old bulls, the rhinos. He fought them all. He ran as an unvarnished conservative. And not once, not twice, but 3 times. And they tried to stop him every possible way they could. They tried to stop him with Dole. They tried to stop him with Baker. They tried to stop him with Bush. They ran a third-party guy, John Anderson. They tried to stop him then. They did everything they could to try and keep Ronald Reagan out of the Oval Office. And they failed. Ronald Reagan was a fighter. Ronald Reagan was a partisan. Ronald Reagan was a principled conservative above all else. Never forget it, because they're trying to rewrite history.